Thank you so much for coming to the September 2021 Test of the Month Club. I'm Nick Ellinger, Chief Brand Officer. With me here is Elena Fortner-Newsome with CDR Fundraising Group, here to share a test about cultivation, and then I'll have a couple of tests after that. So Elena, take it away.
All right, well, welcome. I'm excited to share this test with you. It was a lot of fun to do, and I think it really paid off. So the point was, who feels cultivated? If you go to the next slide, Nick. So I always suggest to my clients that they do some cultivation sends. And by cultivation sends, I mean emails that are meant not to raise money so much as they are to engage and to deepen your relationship with your readers. And they can be anything from sharing donor testimonials to telling them about events. But sometimes when I suggest these to clients, this is the reaction I get. Are we even, does it matter? Is it moving the needle? If it's not raising money, should we be wasting our time? So I was wandering around the internet and I came across a case study, and it said that they took their audiences and they split them into two test groups, with one group receiving consistent cultivation emails every week and the other group not receiving anything on a consistent basis, maybe receiving one, maybe receiving none. They ran this test for 6 months, and after 6 months, they started to see the results come in. They saw a 25 increase in average gift. They saw the likelihood for a donor to give jump. They increased their online revenue, which everyone loves. They increased their engagement, which deepens the relationship. And if they had run the test for an entire year, they said that it would have raised almost $300,000 more without any additional solicitation emails. So when I saw this, I knew I had to give it a try. So we began in the last week of June, and what I did is I took all of our core audiences and I split them up 50-50. We have some Yahoo and AOL email issues, so I made sure that I split those up between test and control. For control, I went forward with the usual cadence. They received about one cultivation a month. For my test group, every Friday, I sent them a cultivation, and at first it was difficult. I had to tell the client, the writers, the designers, no, pull those donate buttons out. We're not asking them for money. So we decided we were going to evaluate by conversion, but what we were really looking for is that lifetime value. We wanted to see, could we increase the value of every donor out there?
And we have a question from the audience on the study that you found on the internet. How was engagement measured when they talked about a percentage increase in engagement?
So they were talking about the email address. How likely is it to, open, click, take an action? And they saw that they were more likely to open emails, not just the cultivation emails, but all emails, because they were seeing this sort of cultivation come to them. So some of the type of things that we sent to them include, we asked them, would you like to advocate for us? Here, make your voice heard. Do you want to thank a healthcare worker? Watch our PSA video, or just a simple, hey, thank you. Welcome to the team. We're glad to have you around. Now, I will say, we also did military birthdays. We talked to them about donor testimonials. Of the ones that we sent out, the advocacy and the PSA received the highest click-through rates. They were both about 0.14%. Overall, we saw a few people even go ahead and give donations, nothing really to talk about, but we saw them opening and we saw it starting to work. Like I said, we started really late June. We got one send in. We worked through July and August. And then we did run into one issue. So we had to switch databases. So I was losing my test groups. And so I had to call my test early. So we had started to see that it started out with the non-cultivation out stronger than the cultivation, but metrics were trending towards the cultivation test. The cultivation test had more gifts and almost as much money, but the cultivation group significantly showed a 4% higher conversion. And that's not on the cultivation emails, that's on our other send emails. Based on those results, I decided that we were going to roll out the cultivation sends and make them part of our normal cadence. Now, next, what I'm going to do after I get out of the giving season is I'm going to go back and I'm going to retest to see how many cultivations it takes to keep that lift. Can I do this? Can I keep the same lift with 2 sends versus 4 sends? So that'll be my next test that I will try. Other things that we're going to do during the holiday season is we're going to tell them about Facebook fundraisers, which is fundraising adjacent. So that made the client happy. Inviting them to make their own Facebook fundraisers. We're going to talk to them about other ways to give. We're going to thank them for every holiday. So we're going to keep making this a natural part of our email sends. For September 11th, what we did is our cultivation said, join us for a moment of silence. And then we had a fundraising campaign wrapped around that. So we've really found ways to integrate it and make it part of the email process. We did not see any of our main audiences feel cannibalized. It's not like because they were part of the test group, they started giving less. So I consider it a success. I would have loved to run for 6 months and had the full thing. And unfortunately, I won't be able to go back and see the lifetime value, which is really disappointing, but that's one of the reasons I'm going to go ahead and try to do some retesting there. So with that, I'll ask if there are any questions.
Thank you, Elena, for sharing that. Did you see any changes in unsubscribe rates as you were looking at audience versus audience?
The unsubscribe rate for cultivation was lower. Overall, during that same time period, I saw my unsubscribe rates dropping. So I did not feel that I was losing extra people because they were getting hit with a few more emails. I attribute that to the fact that the extra emails were not asking them for money.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else with questions in the chat or in the Q&A? We'd love to hear them. And we'll drop in questions for Elena if we get them as we go. A couple other quick tests. One is with Register Roundup programs. This was just featured in Nonprofit Times, so I wanted to share. I was boggled by the fact that $600 million was raised in 2020 in just registered programs. And so this is an area that has been not all that studied in the past. So researchers tested at the register what happens if you have a roundup program versus a fixed amount, $1, $3, $5, or an open-ended ask there. And should you include a statement about the organization or should you not include a statement about the organization? And it turned out that roundups have the highest response rate. So that's probably where you want to go if you have an agreement where you are getting the information from the roundup provider. If you have access to those customer data, great. You want to get those names in, and those will be valuable over the long term. That's pretty rare. In other cases, if you're trying to just maximize revenue, open-ended have basically the lowest donation rate, but the highest revenue because you can give. People are giving so much more. Interestingly, the explanation of what the organization is did increase donation rate among fixed requests and among open-ended, but because open-ended had the ability to give more, you had higher mean revenue. And so the winner presumably is open-ended if you're trying to maximize revenue, which you probably are in this type of program. Winner is using it a bit loosely because when they looked at how people were giving among donation amount, rounding had the highest gift per donation amount. And so if you could get a rounding program that asked people to donate to round up to, say, the nearest $5, the chances are that you would be able to beat an open-ended in register program pretty handily. So food for thought there. And then wanted to talk a little bit about open rates. And we're going to go a little bit different and do analog open rates. Yes, opening envelopes and how you get people to open your envelope. This is pretty challenging because obviously you don't have pixeling and you don't have technology that will tell you the open rates. And so German researchers put together this really boring conceptual framework about what gets people to open and what gets them to keep things. The things that you need to know about here are they had 3,000 German households save all of the mail that they got per month. They had things that they could keep, and those were scanned. There were those that were opened that they didn't want to react to or keep, and then there was those that were unopened. And so by looking at that, they could see what was unopened, what was opened but not kept, and what was kept. And so the influences on open rates that were significant, I'm not going to say which direction these will go yet. This is something that you can puzzle out. So the things that were significant were having a teaser that has a question involved, special or larger sizes, promotional design on the back of the envelope, the weight of the envelope, the volume from that mailer, and having a colored envelope. So think about whether each of those will go up or down. And I grouped them as a spectrum. So the three that increased open rate were the biggest one by a significant margin was teaser with a question in it. That level of curiosity caused people to open the envelopes. Special and larger designs, promotional design on the back of an envelope, both increased open rates, although not nearly as substantially. Weight was insignificant, generally speaking. And then the volume from that mailer and the colored envelope both decreased open rates. Volume, presumably because it became a little bit more impersonal if you're sending to a whole bunch of people at a time. And a colored envelope basically yells out, this is not something from someone you know. And therefore, you have to really kind of overcome that with the specialness of it to be able to make it worthwhile. On the keeping rates, go through the same exercise, having phone number, fax number, logo, personalization of the letter, a high value premium, a pre-stamped envelope, and a helper testimony. So let you think about which of these helped. And having the phone number and the letterhead and a high value premium decreased keeping rates. That doesn't necessarily correlate with response rates. It could be that people responded to an envelope and then didn't keep it. But those types of things did decrease the number of people who kept the communication, which is interesting. And then all of the things that I would say help establish the legitimacy of the organization other than phone number. Phone number kind of means that they may try to call you, and perhaps that's more challenging and people don't want to respond to that. But fax number, logo, helper testimony, those types of validators were very helpful. A pre-stamped envelope increased keeping rates. Longer letters were more likely to be kept, probably more likely to be of substance. And then number one, 9.8 standard deviations out. So super significant, super high effect size was the personalization of the letter. So more personalized, better, obviously. And there were a bunch of things that don't matter, like paper color or doctor's testimony or a photo of the person who sent it, those sorts of things. Some other findings, there weren't a lot of spillover effects from opening to keeping, which means that if you have a misleading teaser on there, chances are that's not going to go well for you. Someone's going to open it, but then throw it away or not keep it. So that boomerang effect is there. So this model predicts about a quarter of opening and about a sixth of keeping. So there's still a lot that isn't accounted for in this model. Nature of the letter, organizational brand, reputation, all of those sorts of things. So if you had to do one thing to get people to open and keep, it's personalize. Things like larger envelopes, questioning teasers, and promotional designs gets envelopes opened, color doesn't, but it won't necessarily get your letter kept. So you're going to have to do that on your own. Better postage helps, but obviously you want to look at the cost for that. Generally, I've found that the break even for first class postage, you're you're probably dealing with $100, $250, $500 donors and up, where that's going to pay for itself. So any questions on anything you've seen here today? Envelopes, Roundup programs, cultivation.
Hey, Nick, on the Roundup programs, is there a vendor that's leading that, or what are the logistics behind that?
So the logistics behind that, I think they worked directly with a vendor and a single organization, although I don't know that they disclosed the organization. And so they were able to test within a kind of unified infrastructure.
I'm just wondering how difficult it is to launch a program like that, because it seems interesting and valuable.
Yes, my guess is that they worked with an existing relationship. That's one of those where you really want to have a tight local relationship to be able to do those, or sometimes timely relationships can be very valuable. I know Roundup programs can be seasonal for certain organizations, where you're doing a paper icon program or the electronic equivalent of that. But it's something less, while it has direct marketing impacts, the people who are usually leading that in an organization are your corporate fundraising staff. And hopefully it's someone that you already have a sponsorship relationship with, or a cause-related marketing relationship with. Some will sort of speak their own books. So you go to a PetSmart and you can round up for PetSmart charities. They're their affiliated organization, nonprofit as well. So some of those relationships are locked down. Some are able to be negotiated with the corporate entity themselves. So, okay, we have a raised hand. Let me see if I can answer that. Okay, Claudia, you're on the air.
Oh, hi, Nick. This is not a question for some of the tests that were here, but I'm just wondering if you know of any tests that are being done or with regards to informed delivery, and you know, and also whether there's a lot more people that are registering for informed delivery. So, knowing that people would see what's coming in the mail by checking their email. I'm just wondering if there are any kind of net effects that we're experiencing that might be organic for just those that are getting informed delivery. And if we have any tests where we're doing informed delivery, like an A/B split of informed delivery and not.
Let me go to some of our folks who work on the production side of things. I know that there have been informed delivery tests. I think the challenge, as you say, is whether it's a true A/B test or whether they did informed delivery and said, oh, we got a lift of this amount here without potentially controlling for those sorts of factors. So thank you. I will look into that and see if we can bring that up for a future test of the month discussion.
That would be great. Yeah, because I think one of it is just knowing, because, if you've signed up for it, you're going to see that that letter is coming in the mail. But if you're doing the added step of including a link or that additional ad to promote online giving directly from that, I'm just wondering if there are two sets of data, one telling us just organically it's helping lift rates, or with A/B split testing where some get the code or not, that it is helping to improve direct mail appeals.
Okay. And if anyone on the call has had experience with this, let us know in the chat or raise your hand up. Otherwise, we will regroup and see if we can address this on a future episode. We also have a request in the chat for any testing done with canvassing scripts. Ooh, that's a good one. I know that scripting can be challenging, and individuals sometimes have a tendency to change the script as well. So let me, I know a few people in canvassing that I can ask to see what sorts of results we can get, because that's an interesting one, and one that I think researchers perhaps have not delved too deeply into. So it's up to us practitioners to save the day. Any other things that folks would like to see on future calls or answers on informed delivery or canvassing scripts? We'd love to have folks who volunteering to share tests on this call. So please shout them out if you have them. I'm at nellinger@mooredmgroup.com. That's mooredmgroup.com. And that's NELLINGER. Love to have people presenting. Thank you, Elena, for doing it today, and hope to have more guest speakers in the future. And I will see what we can do on informed deliveries and on canvassing scripts. So thank you very much. Have a good day.